Kevin sat at his desk, rolling his sleeves up as he glanced at the clock. Another late night, another empty bed waiting for him at home. The quiet hum of his office felt suffocating. The glow of his laptop casting long shadows across the room. Work had become his refuge, because home had lost its warmth. Sarah, his wife of 6 years, had been drifting, her touches more absent-minded, her kisses lacking the hunger they once held. Desire had faded into routine, passion into polite nods and fleeting glances. He wasn't naive. He saw the subtle shifts, the late nights without explanation, the newfound obsession with her appearance, the way she guarded her phone like a sacred text. Still, Kevin had clung to hope, convincing himself that they could rekindle what was slipping through his fingers. That's why tonight he would try. Surprise her, seduce her, remind her of the fire that once burned between them. He grabbed his keys, determined. He would take her in his arms, make her moan his name the way she used to. What he didn't know was that Sarah was already moaning someone else's. The scent of her perfume lingered in the hallway, a sweet, floral trail leading him to a place he never wanted to go. Kevin's footsteps were slow, deliberate, as if prolonging the inevitable might somehow change what he already knew deep inside. The door to their bedroom was slightly ajar, golden light spilling through the crack, illuminating the shadows of a world he was about to step into. Then he heard it, a breathless, sultry moan, followed by the low, guttural sound of a man's voice. His pulse thundered in his ears, drowning out every rational thought. His hand hovered over the door handle, a part of him screaming to turn away, to walk out before this moment became a permanent scar. But he had to see. He had to know. With a slow push, the door swung open, and time stopped. Sarah, his Sarah, was straddling another man, her head thrown back, lips parted in pleasure. The silk sheets, once tangled between their bodies, now wrapped around a stranger. Their bed, their sacred space, desecrated. For a fleeting moment, she didn't see him. But when her eyes finally met his, she didn't gasp, didn't scramble for the covers, didn't stammer out an excuse. No, she smirked, a wicked, self-satisfied curve of her lips that sealed her fate. You could never satisfy me, she whispered breathlessly, still perched atop her lover. And that was the moment Kevin stopped loving her. Kevin didn't lash out, didn't scream, didn't let his emotions crack through the ice suddenly forming inside him. He simply stood there, staring at the woman he had once vowed to love forever, now tangled with a stranger in the sheets they had shared. The weight of betrayal pressed against his chest, but instead of breaking him, it did something far more dangerous. It hardened him. Sarah expected rage. She wanted a reaction, craved the power of watching him fall apart. But when his lips curled, not in pain, but in something eerily close to amusement, her smirk faltered. Without a word, Kevin reached into his pocket, pulled out his keyring, and slid off the house key. The tiny metallic object, once a symbol of trust, now meant nothing. He walked forward, slow and deliberate, setting it on the nightstand beside her discarded wedding ring. You can keep the bed, he said, voice disturbingly calm. I won't be needing it. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Sarah's eyes. Kevin didn't give her the satisfaction of seeing what lay beneath his exterior. He turned, walked out, past the framed wedding photos. The memories that now felt like a cruel joke. The night air hit his face as he stepped outside. But instead of agony, he felt something surprising. Relief. Because Sarah thought she had won. She had no idea Kevin was about to destroy her entire world. The city lights blurred as Kevin drove aimlessly through the night, the sting of betrayal fading into something colder, sharper clarity. He wasn't heartbroken. Not anymore. He was calculating. Sarah thought she had won, that she had humiliated him, reduced him to nothing. What she didn't realize was that she had freed him. He pulled into a quiet parking lot, the soft hum of his car's engine, the only sound around him. Reaching into the glove compartment, he pulled out his laptop. There was no hesitation, no second-guessing. If she wanted to play games, he was about to show her who the real strategist was. First, finances. Their joint account, drained, split down the middle. His half moved to a private account. The house, legally his just as he had planned when they bought it. Passwords, changed, locking her out of everything she had taken for granted. With a slow exhale, he leaned back against the headrest, staring at the glowing screen. This wasn't revenge. It was precision. It was justice. But he wasn't done yet. No, Sarah needed to believe she had won. So Kevin disappeared. No texts, no calls, no confrontation. He wanted her to feel safe, to bask in the illusion that she had outplayed him. Because when the fall came, he wanted her to feel every single piece of her perfect world shatter beneath her feet. Sarah barely noticed Kevin's absence. Why would she? In her mind, he had retreated like a wounded animal, licking his wounds in some miserable hotel room while she thrived. She didn't realize she was dancing on a trapdoor. She indulged freely, charging expensive dinners, spa days, and weekend getaways to their joint account, never stopping to consider that Kevin had already severed her access. And then reality struck. At the grocery store, standing in line with a cart full of overpriced organic nonsense, her card declined. She frowned, tried again, declined. A nervous laugh, a flicker of confusion. Maybe it was a glitch? She reached for her credit card. Declined. The cashier cleared her throat, shifting uncomfortably. A line was forming behind her. Sarah's palms grew damp as she fumbled for her phone. One notification sent her world crashing down. Alert! Your joint account balance is now $3.82. Her heart pounded. That wasn't possible. She called the bank, her voice a frantic whisper. But the response was firm, polite, devastating. Your access has been revoked by the primary account holder. Kevin, panic coiled in her stomach like a snake. She bolted out of the store, barely noticing the groceries abandoned at the register. Her hands trembled as she dialed Ryan's number. Because if Kevin wasn't her safety net anymore, she needed a new one. And she was about to learn that Ryan was never built to catch her. Sarah stormed into Ryan's apartment, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor, her breath ragged from the panic still coursing through her veins. He was lounging on the couch, scrolling through his phone, completely at ease, unbothered. Babe, you won't believe what Kevin did. She started, trying to inject urgency into her voice, to reel him in the way she had always been able to manipulate Kevin. Ryan barely glanced up. What now? He muttered, uninterested. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. He cut me off. The bank account is empty. My cards aren't working. I need your help. That got his attention, but not in the way she had hoped. He sat up, brows furrowed, but there was no concern, no anger on her behalf. There was calculation, annoyance, maybe even regret. That's rough, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Sarah blinked. Rough? He shrugged. I mean, I didn't really sign up for all this. You know. And just like that, she saw it. The cracks forming in her perfect little fantasy. Ryan had never been her savior. He had been her plaything. You're kidding. Her voice was sharp now, laced with panic. I mean, you're cool and all, but I got my own life. I can't just take care of you, Sarah. Her stomach twisted. Ryan was done with her. And for the first time, she realized she had nothing. Sarah sat alone in the dimly lit cafe, staring at the untouched cup of coffee in front of her. Her world had unraveled faster than she could comprehend. Just weeks ago, she had basked in the thrill of her so-called freedom, convinced she had traded up, believing Kevin would fade into the background, broken and forgotten. Instead, she was the one who had been discarded. Kevin had severed every financial lifeline she had. Ryan had slipped away the moment things got difficult, revealing himself for what he truly was, temporary. Her friends? They weren't answering her calls. The walls were closing in. And so, after days of sitting in her mother's guest room, drowning in regret and shame, she sent the text. Kevin, please, let's talk. It took 3 hours for him to respond. What? Just one word, cold and unreadable. Her fingers trembled as she typed. I made a mistake. She waited, breath held, praying for something, anything. 3 dots appeared, flickered, disappeared. No reply. She swallowed hard, blinking back the sting of rejection. She had been sure he would answer. Sure she still had some hold over him. But for the first time in her life, Sarah realized the horrifying truth. Kevin was gone. Not just physically, but in every way that mattered. And that loss hurt more than anything. Kevin leaned back in his chair, watching the ocean waves roll in from the balcony of his luxury resort suite. The air smelled of salt and freedom, a stark contrast to the suffocating weight he had carried just weeks ago. Beside him, Willow stretched lazily, her sun-kissed skin glowing under the setting sun. You're quiet, she murmured, tracing a slow, teasing finger down his chest. He exhaled, feeling her warmth against him. This wasn't just a distraction, it was a revelation. Just thinking, he said, shifting to cup the back of her neck, drawing her lips to his. The kiss was slow, indulgent, a stark contrast to the emptiness he had once felt with Sarah. Willow didn't just take, she gave. Her touch was confident, her desire real, her body melting against his with a need that felt raw and unfiltered. They stumbled back into the suite, the city lights flickering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. His hands mapped her curves, her breathless moans igniting something in him Sarah never could. This was passion, not obligation. As they tangled together in the sheets, his mind never once drifted to his past. Sarah was a closed chapter, a lesson learned. Willow arched beneath him, whispering his name with the kind of reverence he had long forgotten he deserved. And at that moment, Kevin knew this was what moving on really felt like. Sarah sat across from Kevin at the small cafe where they had once spent lazy Sunday mornings together, sipping coffee and planning their future. Now, the air between them was heavy, thick with the weight of everything she had lost. She had insisted on this meeting, one last chance, one final attempt to fix what she had broken. "You look good," she said softly, her voice almost hesitant. Kevin tilted his head, studying her. She did not look good. There were dark circles under her eyes, her usual confidence stripped away. She looked like someone drowning in regret. "What do you want, Sarah?" His voice was even detached. She swallowed, fingers gripping her coffee cup. "I miss you," she whispered. "I miss us." Kevin exhaled slowly, then pulled out his phone. With a casual flick, he turned the screen toward her. The photo was simple. Him, relaxed and smiling, an arm draped around Willow's shoulders, her head resting against his chest. Sarah's breath hitched. "You love her?" she asked, voice breaking. Kevin held her gaze. "She never made me feel like I wasn't enough." Silence. Raw, crushing. Irreversible. He tossed a few bills onto the table and stood. Sarah didn't stop him. She just sat there, staring at the picture of the man she used to have, the man who had finally, completely moved on. She had lost him forever. Kevin stepped out of the cafe, inhaling deeply as the crisp evening air wrapped around him. The weight of the past had finally lifted, leaving behind nothing but clarity. Sarah was nothing more than a distant memory now, a cautionary tale of misplaced trust and shattered illusions. His phone buzzed. A message from Willow. "Miss me yet?" A slow, satisfied smile tugged at his lips. "More than you know," he typed back before slipping his phone into his pocket. Sarah had spent weeks trying to claw her way back into his life, convinced he would always be waiting, always be an option. But she had misunderstood something fundamental. Kevin wasn't a man who begged. He was a man who rebuilt. Sarah would always be haunted by the wreckage of her choices, trapped in a cycle of regret and what-ifs. But Kevin? He had already moved forward, towards something real, towards someone who saw his worth. As he walked toward his car, the city lights shimmering around him, he knew one thing for certain. This was victory. And the best revenge? Thriving in a life she could never touch again. Betrayal is painful, but how you respond defines your future. In today's world, where relationships can be fragile and trust is often taken for granted, it's crucial to protect yourself, emotionally, financially, and mentally. Never rely solely on someone else for stability. Build your own foundation, your own success. When faced with betrayal, don't chase closure, create it. Walking away with dignity is more powerful than seeking revenge. The best response to being wronged isn't destruction, it's thriving. Invest in yourself. Surround yourself with people who truly value you, and never let someone else's disloyalty shake your self-worth.